So, here we go.
It was filled with childish frustrations and complexes. The police were searching for James Thomas, believed to
Hello, hello, hello. You're listening to Midnight Movie Gang. It is currently 11:55 a.m. Night Movie Gang. My name is LC Hines. My pronouns are he, they, and I'm here with Court.
Hi, my pronouns are they, them.
Yeah. And today, for those of you just tuning in, if this is your first episode, which could make sense, this is a popular movie.
Yeah.
It's one of the. It's been a while since we covered like a new movie. This is a show where we kind of talk about genre film, like sci-fi, horror, cult classics, that kind of thing. The movie we're talking about today is Nosferatu, which is. Oh yeah, no, that's true. The movie today. I meant to. I guess I can cut it.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, the movie we're talking about today is
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu is a 2024 American Gothic horror film written and directed by Robert Eggers. Robert Eggers also directed The Witch, The Northman,
The Witch,
The Northman, and The Lighthouse. This is the first movie he made that doesn't start with the.
The Nosferatu.
The Nosferatu. It is a remake of a 1922 silent film of the same name.
I can't stand a fucking silent film.
Yeah, it's 102 years old, this movie. I tried to watch a little bit of it the other day. And the original silent film is an unlicensed adaptation of the original Dracula novel. So
By Bram Stoker.
Yeah, so this movie, it's been pretty hype. We've been excited for it. Nosferatu. Ever since we saw the trailer for it. Because the music was really what hooked me in that trailer. We're both, I mean, from you've liked at least both the Robert Eggers films that you've seen.
Yeah, I think we should do an episode on The Witch.
On The Witch?
In the future.
Yeah, that'd be
because I love that movie.
Yeah, I actually ordered the Blu-ray of The Witch and The Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
So
I haven't seen The Lighthouse, but we should watch it together.
Yeah, I think despite it being black and white, I think you'll really like The Lighthouse. But yeah, basically, I want to start off asking you, what's your history with this director, as well as and what you think of his other films, as well as kind of what you might know about the Nosferatu character, vampires, Dracula in general, just your background on this movie.
So when I was a kid, I was a really voracious reader. I've started to pick that up again recently. But I read Dracula when I was a kid, and I really liked it. I was kind of I was into like Stephen King and horror books pretty young. And I liked the original book. I have a hard time with older movies in particular, and sometimes older books. Like, I just want the shit to make sense in terms that I'm used to, and I know that that's like a lazy take, but like if shit's in black and white or has like really weird like old English terminology, I don't tend to like it that much.
It's hard to attach to.
Yeah, like I'm just like, please, can you just talk to me like I know how you're supposed to talk to me in the year of our Lord 2024. But I have always liked Dracula and like the books that spawned after Dracula. I feel like a lot of people have expanded the vampire multiverse. And I mean, vampires were like in many different cultural zeitgeists before Bram Stoker's Dracula. I love Twilight, and I think that Twilight belongs in the multiverse of
oh no, absolutely,
Dracula and vampire stories. I mean, there are actually a lot of similarities between like Twilight vampires and other vampires, in that like you still have the like seduction of a young naive woman, in the case of Twilight, a girl because she's underage, but yeah. And I really like The Witch, the movie The Witch. I like the New England-y vibe of The Witch. I saw it not in theaters, but I really liked it when I first saw it, and I've seen it a couple times since. I like Black Phillip in The Witch. I think he's fun.
Best character. Best villain.
He is a good character. And I actually have a The Witch tattoo. Did you know that? Did I tell you that?
I don't think you did.
It's
Wait,
very...
what is
It's
it?
like not technically that It's not okay. So I have a Flash tattoo. It's this one, the oak leaf.
Oh,
It's from The Witch.
Oh,
It's
I know.
was a Flash tattoo that an artist did with like a Flash from The Witch, and I got it because I liked the movie, and also it's an oak leaf. It's a very basic, like.
No, but I mean,
The Witch tattoo.
I've always really liked that tattoo.
I know, it's a good one.
And yeah, but like
Yeah.
you have so many that like
I know.
And I was also present for so many of that's like one of the few ones that like I like that you had already when we met. But yeah, no, it's interesting that you say the old timey kind of like dialogue and speech can kind of throw you off. It's funny. What do you think about because something that Robert Eggers is known for, like with his,
is the old timey speech.
Yeah.
I know.
Like
I know.
all of his movies are period pieces that have this old time. What do you think? What do you think it is about his filmmaking and the way he presents this stuff that that you think kind of transcends that or like makes it enticing to you?
I think part of it is that I don't feel like his movies get weighed down by it being a period piece. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like sometimes period pieces can be like up their own asses. And I think part of it is that he's coming at it from a horror lens. So there's already things in it that are just like in The Witch, for example, and in Nosferatu as well, like there's a lot of like sexual stuff that you often don't see in period pieces because it's supposed to be like these are like Puritan people. You know what I mean? Like the characters still remain relatable in a way that a lot of the time I feel like period pieces don't have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I feel like with Robert Eggers, and his, I think it's kind of a combination of two things. One, I think he's just, I think he's an excellent director of actors.
Yeah.
And I think that, he works with a lot of the same people throughout all of his movies. And I think that it's kind of a thing where like, it doesn't necessarily matter the fact that they're speaking this old-timey dialogue, like in The Northman and, you know, stuff. You know, he's talking about like Nightblade, I will return for you, you know.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. But I think it comes down to like the actors really sell the emotion behind it.
Yeah.
I feel like in some lesser movies, like not even necessarily older movies, but modern movies that are period pieces that are trying to copy that old-timey dialogue, I think sometimes it can feel like the actors are just reading a script.
Yeah, and it can really feel like they're just like playing dress up versus like acting.
Yeah. Versus like in this movie, in these movies, I get a sense that like the actors fully understand like what they're saying and what they're trying to get across.
And their like motivation, every character like knows their motivation and stuff, which I think is helpful. I also think that he does a good job in the two movies that I've seen, this one and The Witch. And The Northman. Sorry. He does a good job of like having the scary thing be like still in the shadows enough where like there's enough of like a thriller aspect. Yeah. I feel like he keeps his movies in like a thriller horror kind of area as opposed to being like, well, because we only see The Witch in The Witch like super briefly.
Yeah.
And even in Nosferatu, like we
don't get a great look at Count Orlok until like I'd say the very end.
Right.
Or well, there is that one full frontal look.
But it's still like very shadowy.
Yeah, no, like he Robert Eggers is really good at using darkness very purposefully. Yeah. I feel like a lot of some of the worst kind of horror movies that are like low budget that don't know how to use darkness effectively are just using darkness to cover up the low budget or like trying to hide kind of mistakes or cheap things. Whereas like Robert Eggers, every time there's like darkness, it has to do with the story. Like there are a lot of scenes and moments that are burned into my brain from Nosferatu, but one of the most simple ones for me is when Thomas, played by Nicholas Hoult, is walking through those woods towards Orlan's castle, and it's just the darkest woods.
It's so scary
that you ever seen. And I love the sound design in that scene too, because all you can really hear is the crunch of his boots against the leaves and snow and stuff, you know. And it's that dark. You just feel, and I feel like that's a lot of the feeling you get in this movie is you just feel kind of suffocated by the darkness. And I also just wanted to say, as well as just the actors really feeling the dialogue, it's a thing where it's like the visuals and the performances themselves make it so that you almost don't need the dialogue, because like I feel like you can kind of put together all of what's going on like by just looking at. Also, I feel like with all of his movies, they're all the stories are like pretty simple.
Right, like in The Northman, he's just trying to. It's a revenge for his dad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's revenge for his dad.
Yeah.
And I believe Northman is an adaptation of Hamlet, specifically. And then there's the Revenge of the Sith fight at the end. But yeah, no. Really briefly with my my history with Robert Eggers. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I think the first movie I saw of his was in college. I saw The Lighthouse, and I kind of didn't get it. And I haven't rewatched it since. But the more I've gotten into his other movies, the more I've really wanted to go back and watch it, because I just don't think I had the capacity at the time, the maturity, which is the case with like a lot of movies lately I've been rewatching. Blues Brothers, for example.
Yeah.
But no, like saw The Northman. I really liked The Northman. I really enjoyed The Witch when we watched it recently. Yeah. And it's the same thing with this one. As far as like vampires go, yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I do like, you were talking about how like, it all kind of started from Dracula, and we've gotten so many interpretations of vampires.
White vampires started with Dracula anyway.
Yeah, early. Yeah. Like the kind of a lot of the modern associations we have like in stories about vampires. Yeah. And something that I like is how much you can do with them. And like I feel like within the last few years, maybe like within kind of the modern take of vampires, I feel like we've kind of been in a bit of an era of like the quote unquote science vampire. Yeah. Or the vampire where like we're kind of trying to explain a lot, and something I really appreciated.
Let's just have it be magic.
Yeah, it's magic. It's magic.
I don't need to know Count Orlok's whole story.
Yeah.
I just need to know that he's a creepy guy. You know?
He's a creepy dude in a creepy castle. Yeah. So let's break into the plot a little bit.
I also think that before we do that, something that is lacking, I think, in a lot of other movies that I think we need to bring back, or at least like start, is having horror movies have that like sexy element.
Yeah.
So many of them don't, and I feel like having a little bit of like ooh makes it even scarier, because then you're like, why am I turned on by this? Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, why is this sexy?
Just like, oh, I'm your affliction? What?
Right? Like, and I think that makes the horror elements much scarier too.
There's been so many good thirst memes from this movie over the last, like, because the movie came out a week ago, and to put it, but we can talk a little bit about this before the movie starts. Is that Lily Rose Depp, who plays
Ellen,
who plays Ellen in the movie. I saw an interview clip with her where she was saying like, yeah, like this movie, she said like it is like a love triangle, like it's a tragic love story. And you can really view the movie through that lens, and it is portrayed like that. I mean, it is all like, it is also, you could say like, the metaphor as far as like, older man, kind of pursuing young women, and like the toxicity of that.
Yeah, like the grooming aspect.
But at least from the perspective of Count Orlok, like he is like in love with this woman.
In his toxic monster way.
In his toxic monster way, and he desires her, and to a certain extent she desires him back in like a fucked up way that in the movie, she acknowledges like, yeah, it's messed up that like I want his crusty
dusty dick,
his crusty billion-year-old monster dick, which by the way, I'll say it now, that was not Bill Skarsgård, the actor who plays, it was not his penis. They made a prosthetic Count Orlok penis.
That makes sense.
Yeah, which is my prop. Claiming it now. And that's something that's really cool, and something that I don't see enough people making allusions to. There's a lot of elements of Candyman in this for me.
Yeah.
As far as like just kind of the way that Nosferatu haunts Ellen feels very similar to the way Candyman haunts, I forget the main character's name in the movie, and how it becomes kind of like a story about desire. And like Candyman also like is kind of a vampire in a similar kind of thing. And he's also a little bit hot.
He is a little bit hot.
I could see Nosferatu in Candyman rolling up to the same club. Like trying to make moves. Very cool. So this movie opens up with it's like a flashback. I think it says like 6 years before or whatever, and we see young Ellen kind of praying out into the ether.
She just wants some love.
She wants some love. She feels lonely. She wants to be desired type deal. And then it's kind of unclear whether or not this part is specifically like a dream sequence or if it's like really happening.
I think it is really happening.
Yeah.
I think it's really happening, and she is calling out into the ether, and Count Orlok happens to be tuned into the ether. And in the similar way of like any demonic story, if you're open to it, it will come. So she's asking for something, and then he hears that and is like, you know what if I made you had a seizure right now, and then in a few years I'll come and we can fuck around.
I'll come back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's basically what happens, is he kind of gets his claws in her via long distance through the ether when she is like basically a child.
Yeah.
I think she is like underage at that point.
She's supposed to be like a teen
Yeah.
at that point, which Warlock, what are you doing with them?
And then there's a flash forward where she's an adult and she's with her husband Thomas,
played by Nicholas Hoult. Fun fact, originally Anya Taylor-Joy and Harry Styles were cast in these two roles.
I think Harry Styles would have been shit.
You think he would have?
To be honest. Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy would have been good.
Anya Taylor-Joy would have been great.
Yeah, but I think Lily Rose Depp really, I think she's the strongest performance in this film.
I agree.
Like the places
she really sells it.
Yeah, she really sells. Yeah, the places she goes is crazy. We'll get to it. But yeah, she's living with Thomas Hutter, played by Nicholas Hoult. What's your take on Nicholas Hoult in general? Like other things you've seen him in?
I just feel like he has just like such an asshole face. Like I don't remember other things. What have I seen him in?
He was the main dude in Warm Bodies.
Oh yeah.
He's Young Beast.
He was young in Warm Bodies.
Yeah. He's Young Beast from the new the X-Men movies.
Oh yeah. That's why I think he's an asshole. Because he's kind of an asshole in those movies.
He's playing Lex Luthor in the new Superman.
That also makes sense
to
me.
I was really happy. I'm like, that's a great pick.
He just kind of has an asshole face. You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
I can't remember the actor's name. You're probably gonna know. The guy, the fiance from Titanic, who like the asshole fiance.
Oh yeah,
Billy,
not Billy Idol.
Billy Thor.
Oh, it's gonna kill me. It's not Billy Crystal. It's
No. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, this you momentarily look up, folks. Titanic. Oh, what's his name? Billy. When I looked up
Billy Zane.
Billy
Zane.
Okay.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of him. That he's just like kind of a little bit of an ass. He just has an asshole face to me.
Yeah. If they're ever gonna do a remake or a new adaptation of Titanic, he could play that character.
He could.
For sure. But yeah, no, I think they have good chemistry together. Lily Rose Depp, like in this like little scene where it's just they're kind of waking up, and they have this like stray cat that lives with them. It's we just get to see them being a little bit of a couple. And I think they have nice as far as good chemistry and being a good couple in like 1830 can be. I think they're a nice. You see that at the very least that they're in love with each other,
right?
Which is important to the story.
Which is nice.
But yeah, they kind of live. I forget if they live in like a shitty house or shitty apartment in Germany. Thomas is an estate agent. He goes to work, and his boss Ernok tells him that there's a new count that wants to move into town. He's too kind of sick to travel. He only wants to travel once. He wants to die in this castle. So you need to travel to him in this like.
And it's sketchy as fuck.
Yeah, it's sketchy as fuck. It's gonna take, I think, 6 weeks.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a 6 weeks journey to get there, sign it, and Thomas like really kind of feels weird about it, but he wants the money because he wants to get like a nice house for him and Lily Rose Depp, and kind of get financial security and whatnot.
And she tells him,
"I got a bad feeling about this.
This is gonna be bad. I don't think you should go. Like, I've had weird visions about marrying death.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you going to Transylvania is a really bad idea." And he says, "Don't fucking worry about it. It's fine." Which you and I have had lots of conversations about in horror movies, the different things that characters do that are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if one of us told the other, "Hey, please don't do this thing because I'm afraid something really bad will happen,"
we'd be like, "No problem.
We have a pact."
Yep. We'll figure
where we have to talk it out. and figure out something.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't just be like, it'll be fine. Because that's how you invite evil into your life. But anyway, he doesn't listen to her.
Yeah, no, he's like, babe, I gotta go. And he leaves the Lero's Depth with, which is kind of weird. He said, like, I'm leaving you with or in the custody of.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, because it's the 1800s and she's a woman. She couldn't
Yeah.
possibly be left alone.
She's basically owned with Frederick Harding, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, kick himself, who he's a rich dude that is a buddy of Thomas. Another, like, nice little kind of character beat that, like, you know, when we first get introduced to his character, him and Nicholas Hoult are talking about, like, oh, thank you, so I'm sorry, I'll pay you back for the money that you paid me, you know. So, like, it really kind of emphasizes, I feel like that little moment to me really kind of put the extra nail on the coffin of, like, you know, Nicholas Holt's so desperate for, you know, for money and for a lifestyle that he wants to give to his wife. Yeah, but no, Aaron Taylor Johnson, he's got his blonde wife and his two little weird blonde twins, the shining twins, who immediately I was like, something bad's gonna happen to these kids because Chekhov's like monster under the bed.
Yeah.
The kids are like, hey, we saw a monster, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's totally not gonna come back later.
Right.
Yeah, and let's see, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he's pretty good in this movie. I've always liked Aaron Taylor. He was in Bullet Train. Him and what's it called? Paperboy. I'm reading the actor's name. They were like brothers.
Yeah.
In Bullet Train.
Yep.
Do you have a take on Aaron Taylor Johnson?
I don't think so.
He's best known for he was in Kick-Ass. He played.
I don't think I've seen Kick-Ass.
Yeah. Oh, he also played John Lennon in Nowhere Boy.
Yeah, I just haven't seen any of those movies that he's in.
He's good. He's been under a lot of flack, like some flack recently because the new Sony movie Craven has been getting bombed and
Oh, is he Craven?
He is Craven.
Is Craven a bad guy?
He's in the comics. He's usually a bad guy, but this movie's trying to portray him as like
an underdog hero.
Anti-hero. Yeah, it's from the same people who did Venom, so it's the same.
Oh, okay.
It's the same kind of like
men dealing with stuff.
Exactly. It's the same kind of thing. Like, yeah, he has a dark past, and he's a hunter.
Every man has a fucking dark past.
Yeah.
Show me a man that doesn't have a dark past.
It's always the same thing. But yeah, so Ellen is having dreams and nightmares about Count Orlok, about death himself.
Yeah, and she marries him and she likes it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's a thing where she doesn't admit to Thomas at this point in the movie right away that like these dreams are like, you know, sexual in nature.
She likes it.
And that she's into it. But outwardly she's appearing to have seizures every night, and it's really concerning to Frederick and Frederick's wife. And while this is going on, we kind of cut to Nicholas Hoult going to this weird country to go visit Count Orlok, and he comes upon this like crazy little village, which I love this little village that he comes upon to. And I think it's really cool because like, how do I put this? It's funny, like at this time where, and I feel like this movie, Willem Dafoe's character kind of talks about it when he comes in later, but this movie kind of represents this like interesting little period of time where we're transitioning really out of like this kind of medieval super spiritual place where like people to like a world of science and technology, you know,
right? Like we have the doctor that comes in and uses like, for the time, conventional medicine.
Yeah. And this village is like, this is the village from The Witch. like
yeah.
You know, like this is like some old school ass, you know, shit going on. But yeah, no, and basically like all of the villagers are basically trying to tell him like, bro, don't fucking go
to the castle.
Yep.
And he says, too damn bad, and he goes to the castle.
I gotta go anyway. And this is probably like my favorite sequence of the movie. Like I love the build up to going to Count Orlok's castle. Like I mentioned, like the creepy woods, the carriage that is drawn by no one.
Yeah, and you know, all of these signs should have told him to turn the fuck around. Like truly, I don't know. If my job told me to go through these woods, I'm not doing it.
Have to find a different job.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think there's supposed to be some insinuation that maybe Thomas is being a little bit like controlled by Orlok
Yeah.
at this point.
Which makes sense because like his boss is like in an agreement with Orlok, and then also like his wife was influenced by Orlok from a young age. Like there is like a vibe throughout of like not everything that everybody is doing is completely in their control,
Yeah.
which I like.
Yeah.
Have a little magic in there.
Exactly. There's clearly some possession, magical influence going on, but yeah, overall, you have the excuse of like, yeah, he's trying to, he needs the money.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also think it's interesting because the vibe that I got is not that like they're like struggling to the point of like, you know, they're in extreme poverty and need to get out. I think it's interesting that he is so motivated literally just because he wants like a certain lifestyle. And I think that makes the character sillier. Because if he were truly in poverty, I'd be like, yeah, dude, you got to do what you got to do, and that sucks. And like, but I think having him be like someone who is just motivated by wanting a certain lifestyle makes him a little less sympathetic, which I think is good because I feel like in this movie, the characters are all pretty gray in their motivation. I mean, obviously, Count Orlok is like, he's an evil guy.
Straight up evil.
But like, the other characters are somewhat doing things on their own, somewhat being influenced by magic. Like, there's a lot of gray area in how people are acting, which I think is cool.
Yeah. All the characters, and honestly, that's something that I feel like is pretty common across all of Robert Eggers' movies, is that everyone's pretty great. I think about The Northman, which is probably, I don't know if I can call The Northman my favorite of his movies, because I feel like I've only seen The Witch once, and then the Lighthouse I need to rewatch, and then this I've only seen once. I feel like I need to see these movies more and absorb them more in order to like truly rank them. Yeah. But in The Northman, the main character of The Northman is an asshole.
Yeah, he is.
He is straight up not a good guy.
He's just a dick.
Yeah, he's just a fucking dick. And that's another thing too that I feel like is a good trend in movies lately that I think make stories so much more interesting. The main character doesn't have to be like 100% good. Yeah. I feel like there was a period like in the Disney Star Wars era.
Oh yeah, like the 2010s especially. I feel like characters were just good.
Yeah, like Captain America, he's like always makes the best decision, always perfect, always, you know. And I feel like now we're kind of in this era where like we're our protagonists can be assholes again. Right. You know, and our villains can like actually be relatable to the point where like, you know, and it just makes for more interesting stories. Like that's something I appreciated about weird to bring this one up, but like Hunger Games too, like, you know, President Snow being the main character is just really
in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, yeah. Absolutely. So he gets rolled up to the castle. It's a super creepy castle. And it's very dark. Fun fact, this is the same castle that they filmed. They made a 70s version of Nosferatu in the 70s, and this is the same castle that they filmed.
That's cool.
Movie. Yeah, which is pretty cool. We arrive at the castle, and we get introduced to Count Orlok. It's a pretty creepy scene. The only light in this scene is a fire that's burning, like in the background. They're in like a dining room, meeting room type area. I feel like basically I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this character, the introduction of this character? Is he what you expected? He definitely wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, a little bit. The introduction kind of reminded me of like the original cartoon Beauty and the Beast, when like you first go into the Beast castle with Belle's dad, and it's all very shadowy and creepy. I don't know. I kind of went in with no expectations of what Nosferatu himself would be like. I knew it was going to be Bill Skarsgård. And my only other reference for what like Nosferatu the character would look like is
SpongeBob.
Yeah, that scene in the SpongeBob episode with the hash slinging slasher. And I knew it wasn't going to be that like kitschy. Yeah, right there.
So sexy. Obviously, Lily Rose Depp showing the picture from the SpongeBob episode, folks.
Let me see the Bill Skarsgård one.
There might not be a super clear picture, but let's see. With his mustache. Yeah. I don't know if we're gonna. This is probably one of the better.
His mustache. I was not expecting the mustache. I will say.
Me neither. It threw me off a little bit.
I was really not expecting the mustache. He looks like a biker.
Yeah. A lot of the reviews I've seen, or one of the my favorite reviews is saying like he kind of looks like a meth head vampire or something. Which I mean, I feel like something I got used to the mustache, and something with the mustache specifically that I think adds to a little bit of the creepiness of this character to me is like, because this character is so sexual, and because like it's so based around like his desire, it's like kissing that crusty mustache.
That mustache has never seen soap and water.
Exactly. It's got just thousands of years of dry blood like fucking caked into that fucker. You know, it's an additional level of the creepiness that, like, you know, it would be clean shaven. Also, something that I think helps a little bit with the mustache is that I think it hides a little bit more of his face, because it is like a big mustache, and it kind of lets you fill into your head a bit. And something I really like about the scene is that you don't really get a good look at him in this particular scene, but I really love his voice.
Yeah.
He does kind of have a little bit of the stereotypical, like, welcome to my chamber. Yeah. But I like the sound mixing. I like they just put in a lot of bass, and every time he breathes, it feels like the room. But, you know, we saw this in not IMAX, but like AMC, like their D-Box, whatever, high sound. Yeah. And the whole room felt like it was...
No, it was like shaking. It was scary.
Yeah, we saw Nope in the same theater, and it was the same deal. But yeah, there's like a fan thing of him. You know, yeah, he's not as cute without the mustache. I think that's some fan art though. But yeah, no. Yeah, he, you know, and also another thing that like I feel like was selling this reveal was like Nicholas Holt's performance, because clearly Nicholas Holt
he's like, ooh,
is uncomfortable and scary. Part of me was expecting the Pennywise voice. I'm trying to get to. There we go. But yeah, no. So so we meet Count Orlok. He's talking to Nicholas Holt. What is it? They're talking about buying the house. There's a little bit of a part where
he gets a paper cut.
He gets a paper cut, right? Yes. Nicholas Holt gets a paper cut, and Count Orlok like immediately like
he's like,
that tastes good.
It's like when we crinkle a bag of cheese and our dog comes running.
Exactly. And then there's a sequence where I forget exactly what happens, but like Nicholas Holt gets knocked out, or like we kind of get the first, or he's asking like to leave, like sign the papers and like get out.
Yeah, and he's like, no, you're sick. You need to stay.
Exactly. Stay till you're better.
You're being weird. You need to stay here. I'm not trying to drink your blood.
Not at all.
Stay.
Yeah. And we get kind of a nightmare sequence where, yeah, Orlok does exactly that. And I hate the scene in this movie where we see Count Orlok drink someone's blood. He's like naked on top of them.
He's so gross. He's like sucking at them. He's so gross. He's so gross.
He's like a leech, you know?
Yeah, his blood-sucking posture is really... he looks like a chupacabra. Like, he's just like crouched on top of people. He's creepy.
Yeah, no, just really nasty.
And also, he goes right for the chest.
He does,
which I think is interesting, because he's going right for the heart,
and not for the neck, like is typical. Yeah. Also, I feel like something that I do appreciate about his character. He doesn't have like vampire fangs or whatever.
No, yeah.
Like this is a lot more of like a classical, like more spiritual take on a vampire than like specifically like I'm going to suck your blood,
right?
You know, yeah, because it is a lot more. I think it isn't necessarily the blood specifically. It's more like just sucking someone's life force in general. But yeah, he signs the papers eventually, and the most important thing I want to get out of this sequence is that he Count Orlok asks about the locket, because Lily Rose Depp gives Nicholas Holt a locket with like a bit of her hair in it, to be like, you know, come back to me safe or whatever. Right. And Count Orlok gets the locket.
Yeah, Count Orlok is like,
there's a connection. Which I definitely interpreted as like that locket will give him like a deeper connection to being able to get to her. And he says like, you're so lucky to have a young and, you know, fertile wife or whatever.
God, he's so gross.
He's such a nasty bastard. Nicholas Holt is like,
Nicholas Holt is like, yeah.
While we're there's a final confrontation in this castle where like Nicholas Holt's trying to escape. All of the gates are locked, like he can't get out, and he eventually, it's daytime, and he comes across Count Orlok's coffin, and this is when we see the full frontal. Really took me off guard. So he tries to stab Count Orlok with like a nearby like wooden stake or like something, a crowbar or whatever. And he pops up and like immediately steps up and he's naked in his coffin. Count Orlok's crusty.
Count Orlok's crusty, dusty dick is like burned in my brain.
Exactly, that whole scene, and also just seeing his skin, like he really does look like a rotten corpse, you know.
Yeah,
and, like,
he looks so gross. He needs some lotion.
He's like, he needs some lotion. He needs to eat a sandwich and
Yeah.
or more. Actually, you were saying he needs to eat more people.
Yeah.
You know, he needs to thicken up. But yeah, like fun. I said earlier, fun fact. But yeah, it's not Bill Skarsgård's penis. It's they made the penis. I want to know. I want to talk to the makeup artist, the VFX guy, who had
the penis person,
the penis designer,
the penis point person.
Exactly. So Nicholas Hoult he falls into like a river or whatever. Like he falls into like the Moat, the river or whatever, and he kind of gets washed down, and that's how he eventually escapes from the castle. And this whole time, describes inquiry. We
go back, and Ellen is like sick and seizing all the time, and she has a doctor, who's like just not able to handle her symptoms, which makes sense because it's magic. It's not like a real medical cause. And the doctor is like, "Listen, I'm in over my head," and he enlists the help of his like mentor doctor guy.
Albin Eberhard von Franz.
He's like a vampire enthusiast.
He's like he's like an occult.
Yeah.
Like he kind of like went past. He learned all the doctor things that he could know, and he started getting into the occult and spirituality and stuff. And he's kind of been shunned from the scientific community because he's involved with all this magic shit. Played by Willem Dafoe. And
he's so fun.
He's so fun. He's so fun in everything.
Willem Dafoe is great.
Yeah, like anytime he's in even if the movie's shit, I know that he's gonna at least be entertaining.
Right.
And I think in this movie in particular, he brings some much needed levity.
I think so too, yeah.
To the movie, I think, because it's not like he's like a complete goofball or whatever, but he kind of comes in.
He has a little bit of a mad scientist vibe.
Absolutely, yeah. He's coming in kind of with this manic energy of like, he's a little bit excited to get involved, like a vampire.
He's like, hell yeah.
There's this scene where he encounters Ellen, and he kind of like is trying to talk her through one of these dreams that she's having, and it's giving big like Exorcist vibes.
Yeah.
Scene where he's like, "Who's talking to you, my child?" This is like probably one of my favorite scenes from Lily Rose Depp as far as like her performance, because she's really just like kind of writhing, like in pain, but also like it's very clearly like some sexual moans she's got going on, and then there's a part where like her face kind of turns like into a weird demon face, and she's all like, "I will come for you. Everything will be darkness, black." And it's just really creepy, and Willem Dafoe kind of puts things together. Oh, also at the same time, Nicholas Holt's boss, who we find out is like a servant of Count Orlok, who's locked up in like the hospital basement and eating birds' heads and stuff. Which that was a crazy fucking scene.
Yeah, because he kills people. Knock does.
Yeah.
And he's institutionalized.
Mm-hmm.
And then
after lethal rampage, and both he and Ellen prophesy Orlok's impending arrival. Von Franz and the other doctor Sievers, but like kind of basically, because like they're both connected by the same evil spirit.
And then the doctor, is it the doctor with his wife?
Which doctor?
Who's the Frederick?
That's a what's his name? Kick-ass. Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes. His family is killed.
Yes, his family is killed by Count Orlok. Because while this is all going on, Count Orlok is being shipped to
with the rats.
The
plague rats.
And I really like this little sequence on the boat, because we kind of cut back to it a little. It's like the sailors on the boat, people are getting killed on the boat, and like in the background, it's because Orlok is like feeding on people on the boat, and it's cool because do you remember? We really need to watch this movie. Do you remember seeing trailers for The Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Mm-mm.
It came out last year or the year before, and I really want to watch it. And it is specifically about the part in Dracula. The Demeter is the boat that Dracula gets shipped on, and the movie is literally just like the
sailors being picked off
by Dracula, and it's just that whole movie is that one section.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was really good.
That sounds good.
But nobody saw it.
Yeah.
So, the Onion Knight from Game of Thrones is the main character.
Oh, that's cool.
In that.
I want to talk about the rats.
Talk about the rats
when we get to the rats.
Yeah, the Nosferatu brings the plague, the rats to the city, and it turns into the Black Plague becomes a big element in, like, the second half of this film,
which is really fun. I think that's really cool because, like, not only is it just like Nosferatu himself causing chaos, but he's also like, you know what? Let me bring the fucking plague.
Yeah.
And that is so much scarier because now you have a situation where even if you get rid of Nosferatu, you still have the plague.
Yeah.
Like, you still literally have, like, an infectious disease that is going to kill all y'all because we don't have antibiotics yet. And I watched a little part of an interview with Willem Dafoe about the rats. They had 2,000 real rats.
Oh my God.
Real live rats on set. And he said it was awesome. And I bet it was. And when I watched the part of the interview where he talked about the rats, he was like, you know, I love animals. And like, and everyone's really excited when there's 2,000 rats on set. And I was just like, when I watched that, I was like, you know what? I think the only one excited was probably Willem Dafoe. I'm sure everyone else was not excited about 2,000 rats. But they were real rats. And he worked with real rats.
That meme.
Which I think is cool.
He's gay. He loves animals.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's really cool. I love practical effects. I also love animals in movies. We've talked about this before, I don't think on the podcast, but because animals in movies are overseen by the American Humane, like, I love animals in movies because they are treated well, and especially now, like movies now. I can't speak for movies before.
Yeah.
Like what is that? Not Halloween, Friday the 13th, they killed a real snake.
Yes.
And all of that stuff. They killed a snake, and it was like,
it was a big thing.
It was horrible. But now movies are all overseen by American Humane if there's live animals, and so, like, I love having live animals in movies. I think it's great. I think it's, along with practical effects, I think it adds so much.
Yeah.
And I just think it's good.
Yeah.
Put real animals in movies.
Absolutely.
I don't want no fucking CGI animals. Put real ones in there.
Yeah. Something we haven't mentioned so far in this movie, and this is something across all of Robert Eggers' movies, everything's practical.
Yeah.
Like, everything's real. Like, all the sets, like, and all the old-timey shit is, like, really is real.
That's what makes it feel more, like, immersive, too.
Mm-hmm. Nosferatu himself, like, it's, he's always real. It's makeup. It's a costume. You know, like, he's... Bill Skarsgård in Lily Rose Depp is, like, really doing all these, like, crazy things with her body and, like, you know, training, you know, and yeah, just we've talked about it before on the pod, but it's just that, you know, CGI, even, like, super impressive CGI,
it's still CGI.
Yeah, it's still, like, it wasn't there, and there's an element of, like, you can feel that in the performances and the characters, and, you know, it's just always great to see things being real. But yeah,
I also feel like we are so inundated now with CGI. Like, I'm tired. Like, I don't need everything to look like Blue People Avatar. You know? I just need things to be even a little bit goofy, but fun. You know? And practical effects, I think even the best practical effects really sell it. But even the worst practical effects
are still fun.
Are so good still.
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather terrible practical effects versus terrible CGI. Terrible CGI takes me out of it entirely. Because I'm like, did you even try? You know?
Quote unquote bad practical effects still at least have, like, personality. Like, there's something that there's something that, like, the example that's kind of coming to mind to me right now is that in Alien Romulus, that scene where they're walking through, like, the room full of face huggers, like, trying not to be seen. A lot of the face huggers that are on the ground are just, like, little remote control.
I love that.
Face huggers, guys, and it's very clear, like, their legs aren't moving at the same rate.
Yeah.
So apparently they did specifically, like, they actually wanted it to look a little bit jank because they wanted.
It's Alien.
It's Alien, but they wanted to have that old school kind of movie vibe, and yeah, you know, that's a case where, like, yeah, they're not going for realism; they're just kind of going for the kitschy, fun, you know, element, which, you know. Yeah, I totally agree with, like, you just can't do with like bad CGI is just distracting.
Right. Bad CGI is shit. Like, I think about, like, the first Tremors movie versus the later ones where the graboid creatures are just CGI. It's like, okay.
And they look like a bad video game.
And graphic. I just, like, don't care. But you know what I do like? The, like, weird meat socks that they use.
In the first movie.
In the first one.
The rubbery meat. The rubbery meat socks.
I love that shit.
They look like Slim Jims.
No, literally.
Yeah.
Frederick has necrophilia with his wife's corpse.
Yeah, that scene's fucked up.
And then he dies.
Yeah, he dies of the
plague.
Of the plague whilst
whilst raping his wife's dead body.
Yeah, really fucked up. Crazy way for that character to go. Yeah, this movie goes to some dark ass places. But yeah, basically Von Franz has a conversation with, we're getting into like the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Von Franz has a conversation with Ellen. That's basically like, you're the only one who can, destroy Nosferatu. Like, you're the only one who can really, all he wants is you. And basically their plan at this point right now, Thomas, Von Franz, and I think the other doctor, plan to destroy Nosferatu's what's it called? His coffin.
Yeah.
His coffin, because apparently that's like, if he doesn't go to rest in the coffin that he was buried in, then there's nowhere for him to hide, and he'll have to just get exposed to sunlight. Right. Basically. And they get there and they think that they're going to stake him. And then it turns out that what's his name? Ernok. Yeah, Ernok is there, and they kill Ernok. And Nosferatu is actually back at Thomas and Ellen's apartment, because
it was a diversion. Thomas realizes and then goes to try to save Ellen because Nosferatu is with Ellen.
Exactly. And they get their freak on.
Yeah. That they do.
And it's hard. It's weird. Like, she basically like allows she's trying to kill him. Yeah. So the through line in all of like Dracula's stories is that you need the sacrifice of like a maiden, like a young innocent woman, naive woman. And so Ellen, something I like about this is that Ellen is taking on that role sort of as a choice. There's an element of her being like, you know what, this will stop the plague in my town. Like, my husband can live, everybody else can live if I just let him do this, and then keep him out long enough for Dawn. And then so she is sacrificing herself for the town and for like everybody. And something that is interesting about this Nosferatu is that that I think gets kind of cheapened in other versions of vampires, is that there's a lot of stuff about like the exposure to sunlight itself being the thing that kills them. But in this case, it's more like the dawn itself, like the sun rising, not so much like the sunlight, but the fact that he is now pulled out of darkness. Yeah. Which I think is interesting. And he's exposed. Yeah, it's a different kind of...
It's not like the sunlight is burning me. It's like, this is a new day has started, and I can't survive in an area with this much light.
Exactly. Yeah, it definitely more is like, I thrive in the darkness. And yeah, no, it is like a slightly different version of it. And it's really cool. It's really classic.
Because he was trying to make perpetual darkness. And then, like, her sacrifice made it so that he couldn't, which is cool.
Yeah. It's a really cool effect when Nosferatu dies at the end, like his eyes and mouth are all bleeding and stuff. I don't know how much of that, maybe there's a little bit of CGI there, but also Bill Skarsgård's such an amazing, like we've seen what he did with Pennywise, like he's such an amazing like performer, like with his face and his body, that like, it's very possible that a lot of that was just, his face expressing. But, it's a cool death. Nicholas Hoult and everyone gets back. Nicholas Hoult gets back and he sees Nosferatu's fucking crusty corpse on top of his wife, and I'm laughing, but it's just crazy that it's like Nicholas Hoult is just gonna be scarred for the rest of his life. They make it back. Nosferatu is killed, and Yeah, bursts into the bedroom, hold downs with her sacrifice, killing Orlok and ending the plague. I don't know if they specifically show that like the plague is over because of this. I don't remember, but yeah, that's how the movie ends.
And something that I like too is that, so at the very beginning, Ellen fucking told him not to go. Ellen told him that if he went, it was gonna cause problems. And then, as always, the woman has to fucking fix everything that the man started.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she reached out into the ether as a child, but like I don't think she can really be held responsible for that. And I think that this is just another depiction of just what happens when we let men make decisions, because men make decisions and then women have to pay the price for it in order to make things go back to normal. And like that's the core of what happened. Like she said, don't fucking go there, it's gonna be bad. And then he said, shut up, I'm gonna go anyway. And then all of this shit happened. A bunch of people died, and she was like, okay, well, I guess I'll die, so then no one else has to die. When really, if there were real justice, Thomas would be dead. But yeah, I liked this movie.
Yeah, me too. No, for sure. It's definitely, I think the more I think about it, the more I like it. I'm probably gonna I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. I think that upon another viewing, I'll probably give it like a bit of a higher rating.
Like a 4.5? Yeah,
like a 4.5. I'm trying to remember what was hard for me to. I think that maybe some of it might have been just kind of some pacing issues.
It was a long movie.
It was long. It was a very. I think that overall, Robert Eggers is like this with his stories, as far as like, you know, everything's a very slow burn. Everything's simple, but it's way more about the atmosphere and kind of like letting it soak in. And I feel like, for me personally, the first half of this movie and the build up was a lot stronger than the payoff that we got in the second. Because the second half of this movie to me is a lot of like Willem Dafoe running around like magic is real, you know, which is entertaining, but it's not as like, for me personally, thematically interesting as how they built up to it. And that's, but you know, that might, like I said, that might change on another viewing. Also, how do I put this? Something about our specific viewing of this movie, and I don't know if you felt this, but I did. So, this is a weird thing to complain about. So I know they have to keep a little bit of light on.
Yeah, in the theater.
In the theater for safety reasons. You know, people got to get up and, you know, go whatever. But where we were sitting, like one of the soft lights that was like supposed to, you know, kind of illuminate the thing was like kind of directly above us, and it was very illuminated around us. And I don't know, for me, and it actually kind of bothered me a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
When we were and it wasn't taking, and like I didn't mention it because, like, I don't know, I feel like it's a very first world problem.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like, can you turn this light off for me? You know, but yeah, no. So I definitely, I want to see it again. I'm gonna visit more Eggers films. I'm excited to rewatch Lighthouse with you. But yeah, so prop. I'm going to choose something aside from his dick.
Can I have his castle in Transylvania?
You want the castle?
Yes.
That's good.
So bad.
Yeah. I want Ernok's like little Nosferatu journal. You remember that journal?
Yeah.
That finds like the codex of the Brotherhood or whatever, like one of them occult books. I think that would look really nice on the shelf. Yeah, that's definitely gonna be my pick. But yeah. This has been Midnight Movie Gang. It's currently 12:48 p.m. Night Movie Gang. Thank you so much for listening. What's it called? Go check out our YouTube channel at Midnight Movie Gang Podcast. There's reaction videos and animated reviews and all sorts of fun stuff. So please check that out. And you can also listen to the podcast there, as well as anywhere podcasts can be listened to. So Spotify, Apple Music, wherever. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
So, here we go. It was filled with childish frustrations and complexes which the police were searching for James Thomas, believed to